For all your real estate, financing, and investing questions, call the show's off-air number and speak with Mike Gray directly. 530-431-8586. That's 530-431-8586. Now, the Golden State Report with Mike, Amy, and Dave.
I want to know.
Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to the Golden State Report, heard every week on AM 1380. And that's Amy laughing in the background because her and David are having a joke that I can't hear because I'm on the radio and they're supposed to be.
Hello, Mike.
We're
Thank
here.
you for being such a good host.
If you heard, I want to know.
That was Amy.
That was Amy.
Inquiring minds want to
She
know.
wants to know.
And that Amy is Amy DeBus from American Pacific Mortgage.
That's right.
And the other voice is David Stone from the Stone Consulting Group.
They called me Dave the Wave when I was in college.
Really?
I
think our listeners know that
started
by
the
now.
waves.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was pretty much a college student all through and through. Right.
Yeah.
4 years. You
Dave
do
the
it.
Wave.
Dave the Wave.
I can't remember what they called me. It probably was not real
Sounds like
positive.
something like 70s kids would say.
Sounds like a surfer name, doesn't it?
Well, I wasn't in
Surfer boy.
college in the 70s. How old do you think I am?
Okay, sorry. Mea culpa, mea culpa.
Yes, it was in the 80s. I have to admit. Yes,
No comment from this person.
it's a good thing. Hey, I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know, Mike. Just like she wants to know. We want to know, what is the magic sauce? What is it that you are able to do when you take someone that has a house at a certain price? Let's just say $700,000. It was probably a little bit less than that.
$699.
$699 to be
List
maybe
price.
more specific, and you end up getting them something that's $30,000 below that in a market that we're in right now. What's the secret sauce, Mr.
And let
Gray?
me just add to this. So this was our recent recent buyer that we helped. Not only was the list price $699,000, but there were 6 other offers.
There's quite a few other offers. I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
How many, but
there
we
were-
were competing against other offers.
You were competing against other offers, and I'm just we can talk about it now, right?
we can.
So we offered. What did we offer?
We gave him full price. We did. We gave him full price right up front.
Right.
Okay. And we gave him real terms that were very, very attractive to the seller. It was a probate sale, 2 brothers who live out of state. So the house was vacant. Since there were other offers, we were told very clearly that it's going to sell it as is. There'd be no concessions. That's fine. Okay. Because we're trying to get our offer accepted.
And-
other bridges come before us down the road.
Right.
I'm not going to try to negotiate those bridges if I don't have to up
Right.
front. So
Right.
we didn't have
Well,
to.
we've always said there's 3 areas of negotiations. The first area of negotiation is to just negotiate the purchase price.
Get the property off the market.
Just take the property off the market. And was there anything special about those terms that you offered that was appealing for the seller?
Oh yeah. Well, how we did this one was that the fact that my buyer was
Flush.
I mean, he had a nice bank statement.
Yep.
Okay? He had more than enough funds in there, and so we offered all cash.
Yes.
Really short inspection window.
So no loan contingency on that deal.
No loan contingency.
No loan contingency, no appraisal contingency. The only contingency he had in there was
An inspection contingency for 7 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So you got 7 days to turn it around and take a look.
Yep, and we also increased our deposit, so it was more than anybody else was bringing it up front. Because deposits, refundable if you find a reason to cancel. But
Right.
until you do, if you decide to remove your contingencies and then don't buy it, then you're going to lose your deposit. Made it very easy for the sellers to like our offer. Okay.
I like it. Sounds like a good offer.
It was a good offer. We won.
we won.
Right? And buyers knew that, that's probably the final price we were going to pay. And we did our inspections.
Wait, and we had a 22-day close. So right away when they got into contract, Mike called me and said, "Hey, how fast can you close?" And I said, 22 days, no problem. I can actually close in 14 days if you need me to. So we did behind the scenes go
Yeah.
and get a loan, but that has nothing to do with how Mike got a lower price.
Right.
So-
Okay.
So because you can put a loan on even if you're write it in all cash, you just can't
Right.
cancel because of the loan,
Right.
And you cannot not perform because of the loan. All right. So I mean, you have the right to put a loan on it at any time,
Sure.
just as you have the right to assign the property. And a lot of people don't quite understand that. There are rights that buyers have.
Right.
And so we started the loaning process. They did an appraisal. We didn't care because we had removed our appraisal contingency. Amy cared, but I didn't care. My buyer didn't care. And I knew that he was in good hands with Amy. She was moving that part forward. We did our inspections and normal issues, some pest reports, some dry rot, some things in the house that weren't working. It was an older house, some things that dated houses, struggle with. No surprises, except for one that no one caught.
And that is?
Da, 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 da. What was it, Mike?
The property right behind the garage, there was a cistern.
Oh.
You know what a cistern is?
I'm not sure. I better not say, because if I'm wrong, it won't come out right.
A cistern is a shallow well. A shallow well, 20 to 25 feet, is how people used to get water in homes before there was a public water system.
Okay.
Either you dug a real deep well, using pipes and everything, and you have to have a well pump, or you just basically dug a hole in the ground that was anyway 4 to 5 feet wide, 20 feet deep. Water would naturally seep in there, and you had a water source for your home. House was built in 1930. All right, so it's an older house.
Yeah.
This was probably how they got water way back when, and they just stopped using it when they got public water. We went back there, and home inspector didn't see it because he doesn't inspect the grounds. Pest inspector didn't see it because he doesn't inspect the grounds. But I'm walking around and I grew up on a farm in Iowa. I knew right away what
you
it
knew
was.
what it was.
Got a cistern here.
Yeah.
They don't like those in Sacramento County. I
Yeah.
can tell you that right now.
The
I guess
health
that's
and
what you found
safety
out.
issue. And thank goodness our appraiser didn't see it, because had our appraiser saw it, he would have said it needs to be filled in before we close escrow.
Okay, and
Right.
and that's not a cheap process.
Yeah.
There are rules, there are permits and things about how when you fill in a hole in the ground that deep, they want to make sure that you do not disturb the natural flow of water. And so, there are state regs, county regs, and things that have to be followed. And didn't bother my buyer that there was a cistern there. But it is a health and safety issue because if somebody falls into it, they could get hurt.
Right.
Okay. And so I called the listing agent and said, we have a surprise here that we have to try to deal with. And I said, there's a cistern there. She had no idea what I was talking about. I said, I grew up on a farm in Iowa. Let me describe it to you. Oh, we'll just fill it up with dirt. Can't do that. Okay. There are certain rules and regs. And so we got a price quote on what it was going to take to care of it. We negotiated. Seller still wanted to sell. They at first didn't want to do what they had to do. So that's fine. We'll just cancel. And now you have to disclose it. Okay.
Well, and that's
Right.
a key point that, anybody who's thinking of selling needs to know, is that when you know something about your property,
You have to tell them.
You have to disclose it. There's a document.
And so I convinced the seller and I convinced the buyers, hey, work with us. We know there's a problem. We're okay with it. Just
Right.
make it worth our while. Instead of putting the house back on the market, now you can disclose it to everybody. Sure, maybe you'll still get a little bit more money. Maybe you find another buyer who'll give you the same price with that there. But we'll close next week. Just give us the credit for what it's going to cost to take care of all this stuff.
And there's your 30 grand.
There's our 30 grand. Well, it wasn't quite that much, but it's close. But it was still fun. It was-
Yeah, very fun. Great deal for, and that's why you need a realtor right by your side.
Well, I tell you, the listing agent was a very good agent, very experienced. And unless you walk around the property and, look at, I was just doing my due diligence, walking around.
You're just poking around.
And looking at it. I recognized it, saw it.
There's a cistern.
So, and my buyer said, what's a cistern? Oh, it was a shallow well. Okay, that's what that is. That hole in the ground right there was how they got water back in the 1930s.
So I'll have to confess, I was thinking of something having to do with the sewer, but it's having to do with the...
A lot of people think that. But
Okay.
a cistern is just basically a shallow hand-dug well.
Okay.
Okay. And this was
Interesting.
5 feet wide, about 25 feet
1930.
deep. And that's how they used to get water for domestic water services. Make sure it was potable. I don't know if they tested it back then. Today we would test it. But back then, if they drank it and didn't get sick, it was potable. That was their test back.
That was their test. Oh, you're not sick. All right, let's drink it up.
Did Uncle Billy not die? Okay.
Usually it's not a death type of a thing, but it does make you very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So this is the Iowa farm boy talking here, okay? And little things. You never dig a cistern downhill of the septic
That's
tank.
right.
Okay,
That's right. Don't want
Water flows naturally. I can just tell you that right now. This is Iowa Farm Boy speaking here. So.
All right, we're digressing here, guys.
Tell us what's going on in the world of finance.
Well, what's going on in the world of finance?
Rates?
You know, actually, they have announced that they are definitely not lowering interest rates anytime soon.
Yep.
They might even raise rates in third quarter. We'll see how it goes. You know, there's a lot of things going against us, and a lot of the reports that the Federal Reserve Board looks at as far as inflation is concerned, they're just not showing that inflation is dropping the way that they would like, and so they're holding steady. And that's where we're at. But you know what? We can't do anything about that.
You know what I have noticed? That the buyers seem to be adjusting. They're adjusting their budget. They're adjusting their expectations, and they're realizing, hey, it's really important that I get into a home. And I think I've seen that.
Well, what I've also seen is that sellers are willing to give seller credits, especially when you have a property that's been sitting on the market for 20, 30, 40 days. So what can we do with the seller credit to help a buyer? I penciled this out from here to Sunday for one of my buyers last week. We compared if they got a $20,000 deduction off the price compared to a $20,000 permanent buy down on the interest rate or a $20,000 temporary buy down on the interest rate. And the one that shined the best was the temporary buy down. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you have a temporary buy down, it gives you your biggest bang for your buck. So on a 3-year buy down, the first year you're saving about $800 or $900 a month, and the second year you're saving about $600 a month, and then the third year, if you still have the same loan, it's about $300 a month. But what's so cool about the temporary buy down? That same $18,000, let's say you do the temporary buy down, and let's say miraculously 6 months from now, interest rate drops to the 5s. And I call you up and say, hey, let's refinance. And you're like, no, I don't want to because I did that temporary buy down. I don't want to lose the money. Well, guess what? Whatever's left in that temporary buy down account gets applied towards the balance of the mortgage when you go to refinance. So you don't lose the money. So it's, the best of both worlds.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
And that's a principal reduction.
Yes, it's a principal reduction.
Well, if you have any questions about that, give us a call, 530-431-8586. You can go to our website, thegoldenstatereport.com, find our contact information, or you can talk to Amy, and she'd be willing to help you out with that. We'll be right back after this break. Please stay tuned.